Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And Nintendo's stock is dropping. It's dropped 33% in the last 5 months in Japan. Yikes. Yeah, and I think what's going on is this is all tied in with the RAM increases, the price increases. All of the technology industries right now are kind of panicking, especially in the computers, because of the price of RAM, the price of components. They're tying it to AI. I think, maybe, but I think it's just there's a lot of things going on here. We're going to talk about it because it's not just Nintendo. A lot of other companies are feeling the pinch. Asus just stopped making the 5060 graphics cards, and now people are going back to 3060s, which is crazy. And DDR5 RAM prices are insane if you can even get those chips, and now people are going back not to DDR4s but to DDR3s. We're talking several years ago.
Even beyond that, as far as gaming is concerned, people are just like going and buying retro consoles and stuff like that now too, because I think it's beyond the graphics and all that is the whole idea that, you know, Nintendo or Sony or whatever can come in and just, you know, brick your system. You pay hundreds of dollars, they can brick it because they don't like something you do, or they have to know what you're doing at all times. You have to be connected to them at all times so they can change things in real time or watch what you're doing or investigate misbehavior or whatever. Where if you're on an old school system, you don't have any of that.
Yeah, that is a huge issue, I think, for the Switch too. And we're going to talk about, you know, why the stock is dropping here. It's not just the prices. You're correct. I think there's been a lot of backlash toward the Switch 2 and Nintendo in general, with the whole, you know, game card fiasco. You don't really own your games anymore. They don't want you to own your games anymore. It's really aggravating. I loved it when you just bought the cartridge, put it in the machine. It was a complete game. You owned it. You weren't online. And people are going back and buying retro consoles. Again, the 3DS is doing really well in the secondary market, selling for like $200-$300 now, which is insane. But yeah, we're going to talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, you'll get a woohoo if you do.
Woohoo.
Go out to more.clownsfishtv.com. That's more.clownsfishtv.com for more Clownfish TV. And this comes from Video Games Chronicle. Nintendo's share price has dropped 33% in the last 5 months in Japan. Uncertainty over potential price increases may have contributed to the decline. I think Nintendo is kind of a damaged brand right now, personally. But they said, as noted by GameSpark, Nintendo's share price dropped to 62.70 on Tuesday, the first time the prices dropped below 10,000 yen since April of 2025. Back in August, it reached a high point of 93.23. So yeah, that's a huge drop.
Yeah, it's a big drop.
The highest share price ever for the company, and that's when they're riding high on the Switch 2.
Again, that was the highest. I mean, that's not the average. So it's not as much of a plummet when you average it out, but still, that's a lot. I mean, even if it's $20, that's still significant.
Now, they're bringing up, and I can bring this up again, console sales sucked this year at Christmas. They were not good. And actually, the dark horse and all this wound up being the Next Playground, which is basically a Kinect box. It's a little tiny cube.
Parents are buying this up like crazy.
Yeah, well, that's why we bought the Xbox 360 back in the day, was for the Kinect, for the kids. And they loved it. They used to have their friends over for like birthday parties and stuff, and they would do the Kinect party and Kinect adventures and all that. And it was a lot of fun. We used to do Just Dance and you know, and then they just stopped doing it. They stopped focusing on playing. It's kind of like even Nintendo, like they had the Wii and they had all these great games for the Wii, and everybody was like really active in the 2000s playing games. And then they're just like, yeah, let's just go back to just making game consoles. Don't just sit your fat ass on the couch. Play the game, and then we're gonna milk you. We're gonna milk you for revenue. Every month you're gonna have to become a subscriber. But console sales were terrible this year. The Xbox obviously was down like 70%, but even the Switch 2, they said they expected the Switch 2 to be the huge seller this Christmas, and it wasn't.
Actually made, that's probably why you could find them.
You can find them all over the place,
enough, or they were everywhere because no one wanted them.
So here's my take on the Switch 2, and I've told people this before. We bought one. I kind of felt, I guess, obligated. You said, hey, they got one at Walmart, and we kind of waffled on it for a while, but I'm like, well, if we're going to review this stuff, we probably should buy one.
Well, you were the one that wanted it. The kids didn't care. So.
I have played it twice since we got it. And I'll tell you
well, you better play some more because I paid a lot for it.
But it's I still play the Switch 1 more. I'll tell you the truth. I tried playing some of my Switch 1 games on the Switch 2, and since I play mostly like retro pixel-based games, they look like ass on the Switch 2. They're all blurred out, and but beyond that, like they don't have any killer apps. They don't have any must-have games. It's like, okay, you got another Mario Kart, okay, and a Donkey Kong, and then just upgrades to other games. And I don't think there was enough motivation for people to buy a new system. It was like the Switch 2 is basically like a PlayStation Pro. It was like it's slightly better than the last one, but it's not exactly an earth-shattering must-have thing, right?
No. But what you like too is you got a Dreamcast.
Yeah, I like the Dreamcast.
You had your Atari from last time, like you had the
7800, yeah.
Yeah, and then you got some games for that. And then, of course, you have your N64 the kids got you a few years before that.
Which I play often, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you have a choice, I know I have to get you a Game Boy because that's your new thing. Well, you said you were going to get one of those.
Oh, the mod. Yeah, I talked about Mod Retro. We're gonna get one, probably review it. They're making the Chromatic, which is a new Game Boy. It's a third party, but they're actually releasing new games. And again, it's completely offline. You just put your cartridge in, play it. That's all you do.
Well, that's what people want. I mean, some people want to play online games with others so they can have that, communication. But anymore, some of it's so toxic. Why would you want to?
Yeah.
But the whole idea, I think, for most people is that the censorship or they're going to watch everything you do and they can brick your machine. And you have to go through them for every little thing. And I think any infraction could cause you, all kinds of problems. And it's just not worth the stress of I might have done something I didn't mean to. So people are plus the other games are better and they're less convoluted. So they go and play what's been popular for years is still going to be popular. And then that's not going to help stock for gaming companies much. Because unless they were smart, they would bring back retro consoles. They would bring back or make new games for the retro consoles. They were smart like other people. They would do these things, but they don't do that. And had they done stuff like that, maybe their stock would have gone up. But
yeah, that's what killed the mini consoles. Nintendo had a good thing going with the mini consoles when they released the NES and the Super NES, and people thought they were going to do an N64, which if they did a retro N64 console, mini console with like the 20 most popular games, it would sell like gangbusters. But they're not going to do it because they want you to subscribe to their Switch Online service.
Right, which is, I mean, I get that. You can still, you can put 20 of the most popular games on that and then still put other games on the online. And I get it. You could have your cake and eat it too. But
yeah, just pick the most popular, like 10 games, 15 games, whatever, and then have the oddball games, have them online,
that, or just, re-release, like, people are buying the old consoles, make some new games. You don't have to do a whole lot, like one or two new games for old consoles. People would eat that crap up because other developers would do that. They sell out, like, immediately. People want that. They'd be making money because you can't bank on new systems if you don't have stuff for it, and you can't bank on all this other stuff you've been banking on because it's going to cost too much. It's going to be cost prohibitive just in the fact that the parts are going up, and what you're going to have to charge people, they're not going to be willing to pay. They're going to go spend for what they're charging for new systems. You can go buy an old system and a whole bunch of games.
Yeah, and I think people would rather do that because they're like, at least I own the game. I know I like the game. I don't have to worry for the most part about a 20-year-old game about the people working on the game going out to social media and
delighting people being killed or whatever, wishing people dead or
giving their shit takes. The game's going to be complete. It was put on a cartridge or a disc. It is complete when you buy it for the most part, and that's why I think things really came off the rails was when everything became online. Not just the monthly subscription, but also they could ship incomplete games and then patch them later. And that became a problem because then the developers and the companies especially became very lazy and very complacent. They're like, oh, we can ship a beta effectively, and then in 2 months we'll fix it. Whatever. We gotta get the money on the books this quarter.
I know, and unfortunately, this just gives people a bad taste in their mouth, and they just don't. They're not so quick to support you next time.
Well, so this is interesting. This comes from Game Rant 2, and they're pointing to the fact that the Switch 2 has. I mean, I know it sold like gangbusters at first, but they said the demand has definitely cooled off, and it's not no pun intended, the game changer they thought it was going to be. It's basically a slightly better Switch, and people just aren't paying for it, right? They're talking about Nintendo stock in Japan sliding. Kantan Game CEO Dr. Serkin Toto wrote on X earlier this week. So it's down 33% in 5 months. Investors are spooked by possible price hikes, lack of first-party hits, and hardware discounts during the holidays. Speaking to Game Rant, he said, strong market reactions following major console launches are nothing new for Nintendo. Console launches are critical. He pointed to historical precedents. Nintendo's stock surged during the Wii era once investors recognized the companies had two winning horses in the Wii and the DS. Conversely, confidence collapsed during the Wii U years when the company's stock remained flat on a very low level for years. And I think we're looking at another potential, I wouldn't say a flop, but I think the Switch 2 is going to be like the PS5, where it's going to take a couple of years to actually get to a place where there are enough good games to warrant buying it.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say the other way they're going to probably boost their stock right now is that they can announce and deliver some really good games for the Switch 2, or some other kind of groundbreaking new idea that it applies to Switch 2. Something like that might move them forward. Or a commercial like they used to have with Wii. Like the car with the Wii would like to play. Oh my gosh, that commercial, that was just the commercial alone drove up recognition.
The Wii was a console for everybody. The Switch 2, it's a slightly better Switch. There's nothing groundbreaking about it. I think they need to go back to the living room play and focus on the motion control games and the family aspect. And I don't feel like they're really doing that. They're just like, oh, look, we can finally run some of the newer AAA titles on the Switch.
Well, it's interesting to me. Like I'm on different places that have different raffles and things to raise money for organizations, and they're putting up giving away both Switch 2s and PlayStation 5s. PlayStation 5s would sell out fast. The Switch 2s take a lot longer. They would sell out, but would take a lot longer, which I was surprised by. I didn't think that'd be the case because it's a new system, but they wouldn't sell out as quickly as the PlayStation 5s would sell out.
Yeah, and it took a while, I mean, for the PS5 to get there too. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying the Switch 2 is going to be a failure, but they have got to get better games, which they bring up here too. They have, because all the games so far, they're games that are already out for the Switch 1.
Yeah, they charge you how much more to get them?
Yeah, they charge you more. It's like, $20, $10 to upgrade your old game. Or look, we can finally run PlayStation style games on, we can finally run Elden Ring or whatever on the Switch. It's like, whoopity-doo, the game's how many years old?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that's what people are looking at. So,
and I think that these gaming companies also are making a mistake when they're getting a new system out and they aren't prepped with some really, really, really good games to start out. I mean, you might have one, but they need like 2 or 3, especially if they're dropping at a holiday time. And it's going to sell more. It's going to sell better if you have a couple, several in-demand games people are going to want. That's why people wait. They sleep on it for a year or two, and then they want it when there's a lot of stuff for it. Because, you're going to get it for your kids, and they're going to be like, I play one game, and then they're going to be like, what am I going to do with it now?
Yeah. That's just it. It's like, okay, so now I'm just playing my old Switch 1 games. Why did I buy a Switch 2 if I'm just playing Switch 1 games?
Right. And then you have to pay more for them.
Yeah.
So it's really stupid. It really wasn't well thought out. And that on top of the news that they could like brick your machine or, all the other stuff that goes with it. I think a lot of people would just rather play the old stuff. So.
All right, we're going to wrap it up.
Yes.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.